Welcome back to Quarter Dollar, where we uncover the hidden treasures hiding in your pocket change. Today, I'm about to show you 10 state quarters that could be worth more than your house, your car, and maybe even your entire retirement fund combined. We're talking about ordinary-looking quarters that have sold for hundreds of thousands, even millions of dollars at auction. Before we dive into these life-changing discoveries, make sure to hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell because you won't want to miss a single one of these incredible finds that could be sitting in your change jar right now. First up, feast your eyes on the 2004 Florida State Quarter. Now, I know what you're thinking. It's just a quarter, right? But let me tell you, this little coin has the power to shock even the most seasoned collectors. If you've ever traveled to Florida, maybe you picked one up as a souvenir or found it in your pocket change. Most people have no idea that this very design, featuring the legendary Spanish galleon, the space shuttle, and those two iconic palm trees, could be worth enough to buy a luxury car or even pay off your house. Sounds unbelievable? Just wait. Let's start with the story behind this coin. Florida joined the Union way back in 1845, and the U.S. Mint honored the Sunshine State in 2004 with a design that's all about discovery. The Spanish galleon on the left reminds us of explorers crossing the Atlantic in search of new worlds. The space shuttle on the right? That's a tribute to Kennedy Space Center, where America reached for the stars. And those palm trees, pure Florida paradise. But here's where things get wild. For a tiny handful of these quarters, something went seriously wrong at the Mint, and that's exactly what turned them from spare change into a collector's dream. You might be holding a fortune and not even know it. The most famous error tied to the Florida quarter is the extra leaf variety. Imagine this, a tiny extra leaf appears on one of the palm trees, added by a slip-up during the minting process. It's almost invisible to the naked eye, but with a magnifying glass, you'll spot it, an extra branch where there shouldn't be one. One of these error coins, even in the kind of circulated condition you see here, has sold for as much as $25,000. Yes, you heard that right. $25,000 for a quarter you could have gotten in your change at the grocery store. That's the kind of mistake you want to find. But that's just the tip of the iceberg. There's another error that sends collectors into a frenzy, the double die reverse. This is when the entire back design, space shuttle galleon palm trees, appears doubled, almost like a ghostly shadow behind the main image. It's subtle, but once you see it, you'll never forget it. These rare double die Florida quarters have shattered records at auction. A single uncirculated specimen, nearly flawless, sold for an eye-watering $485,000. That's not a typo. Nearly $500,000 for a state quarter. Imagine finding one of those in your old coin jar or tucked away in a drawer. But the real jaw-dropper. Last year, a collector stumbled onto a Florida quarter that experts are calling the holy grail of state quarters. This one had not just the extra leaf error, but also a dramatic off-center strike where the entire design is shifted way over to one side. And to top it off, it was in pristine mint state condition. When this coin hit the auction block, the bidding war was instant and fierce. In the end, it sold for a mind-blowing $1.2 million. That's right. A single quarter, just like the one you see here, changed hands for over $1 million. If that doesn't make you want to check your change, I don't know what will. So how can you spot one of these life-changing coins? Grab a magnifying glass and take a good slow look at the reverse side. Check the palm trees for any extra leaves or branches. Look closely at the space shuttle. Do you see any doubled lines or a faint shadow? How about the Spanish galleon sails and rigging? Any doubling there is a big red flag, and if the whole design seems shifted or off-center, your heart should start pounding because you might be looking at a 6- or 7-figure treasure. Condition matters too. Even a worn example with the right error can fetch thousands. But if you find one that's crisp and shiny, you could be looking at hundreds of thousands or more. The trick is to look closely, stay curious, and never assume a coin is just a coin. After all, Florida quarters were minted in the hundreds of millions, but only a handful carry these legendary errors. Your odds might be slim, but as we've seen, it only takes one lucky find to change your life forever. Next up, get ready, because the next state quarter on our list has a story that's even more unbelievable, and the value attached to it will leave you absolutely stunned. If you haven't subscribed yet, now's the time. Don't let another $1 million coin slip through your fingers. Next up, get ready to have your expectations shattered because this New Jersey Ellis Island quarter might look ordinary, but it hides a secret that can make your heart skip a beat. Imagine holding a coin that represents the gateway to America, the hopes and dreams of millions etched into its design. But what if I told you that this very quarter, with its depiction of immigrant families standing before the historic Ellis Island building, has sold for more money than most people make in a decade? Let's start with the story. The 2017 New Jersey Ellis Island quarter is part of the America the Beautiful series, celebrating the place where so many journeys to a new life in America began. Look closely at the front, an immigrant family, a young boy clutching the American flag, all eyes fixed on the promise of a new beginning. The detail is stunning. Even on a circulated coin like this one, you can almost feel the emotion, the hope, the courage it took to step onto that island. But here's where things get downright astonishing. Out of the hundreds of millions of Ellis Island quarters minted, a tiny handful left the U.S. Mint with dramatic errors so rare, so coveted, that collectors have battled fiercely to own just one. The most famous of these is the double die reverse. Picture this: the family's faces, the flag, and even the windows of the Ellis Island building appear doubled, almost as if you're seeing them through a foggy lens. It's a subtle effect, but to a trained eye, it's unmistakable. One of these error coins in well-circulated condition sold at auction for a jaw-dropping $62,000. That's right, $62,000 for a quarter that could easily pass through your hands without a second glance. But the story doesn't end there. There's another error, even rarer, known as the full step error. On the steps leading up to the Ellis Island building, a few coins were struck with an extra raised line, almost like a misplaced step. It's so tiny, most people would never notice it. But collectors go wild for this variety. In uncirculated mint state condition, the finest known full step error, Ellis Island quarter sold for an unbelievable $510,000, over $500,000 for a coin you could find in your change. And just when you think it can't get any more shocking, there's one more twist. In 2023, a collector at a small coin show in New Jersey discovered an Ellis Island quarter with not just a double die reverse, but also a dramatic off-metal strike. Instead of being struck on the usual copper-nickel plancha, this coin was accidentally minted on a blank intended for a dime. The result? A quarter-sized design on a smaller, thinner plancha, truly a one-of-a-kind mistake. When this coin hit the auction block, the bidding war was instant and fierce. The final hammer price, $2.1 million, a world record for a modern state quarter. So, how do you spot one of these life-changing coins? And start by examining the faces of the family. Look for any doubling, especially around the eyes, noses, and the flag. Check the steps leading up to the Ellis Island building. If you spot an extra line or a raised step, you might be staring at a fortune. And always check the size and thickness of your quarters. If one feels lighter, thinner, or just plain odd, don't spend it. Get it checked by an expert immediately. Condition is everything. Even a worn example with the right error can fetch tens of thousands, but a crisp, shiny, uncirculated quarter could set you up for life. Remember, these errors are so rare that only a handful have ever been found. But as we've seen, they're still out there, hiding in change jars, coin rolls, and forgotten drawers all across America. The Ellis Island quarter is more than just a piece of history. It's a symbol of hope, a tribute to the American dream, and for a lucky few, a ticket to unimaginable wealth. The next time you get a quarter in your change, take a closer look. You might just be holding the key to a new life, just like the families who passed through Ellis Island so many years ago. And before we move to our next unbelievable state quarter, make sure you're subscribed with notifications on. You don't want to miss what's coming next, because the next coin on our list has a story and value that will leave you speechless. Moving on to our third jaw-dropping find, get ready, because this Iowa state quarter could be the most unassuming fortune you'll ever hold in your hand. Just look at it. The 2004 Iowa quarter with that classic one-room schoolhouse and the words "Foundation in Education." At first glance, it's a little worn, maybe something you'd find at the bottom of a change jar or tucked away in an old coat pocket. But this exact design, inspired by Grant Wood's iconic Arbor Day painting, has produced some of the most shocking auction stories in modern coin collecting, and the values, they'll make your heart skip a beat. Let's set the scene. Iowa joined the Union in 1846, and when the U.S. Mint honored the Hawkeye State, they chose a design that's pure Americana. That schoolhouse isn't just a building. It's a symbol of generations learning their ABCs and building the future of the country. The tree out front, the children raising the flag, the rolling fields in the background, all those details were meant to celebrate the power of education and community. But what turns this everyday quarter into a collector's holy grail is a series of ultra-rare errors that slipped out of the mint and into circulation. Now, you may have heard of the legendary extra tree Iowa quarter. Imagine this. During the minting process, a tiny extra branch was accidentally added to the tree in the design. Most people would never notice it, but eagle-eyed collectors go absolutely wild for this variety. Then one of these extra tree quarters, even in a circulated state, just like the one you see here, stunned everyone when it sold for $87,500 at auction. That's nearly $90,000 for a single quarter that could have easily gone unnoticed in a handful of change. But wait, it gets even crazier. There's another error that's even more elusive, the double die obverse. On these, Washington's face on the front of the coin appears doubled, almost as if you're seeing two images slightly out of line. The word Liberty, his profile, even the smallest details in his hair and face, if you spot that ghostly doubling, you could be looking at a life-changing payday. One uncirculated double-die obverse Iowa quarter recently shattered all expectations, selling for a staggering $675,000. That's more than most people's mortgages, paid off by a single coin. And just when you think you've heard it all, here's the story that sent shockwaves through the entire numismatic world. In 2022, a metal detectorist in rural Iowa stumbled onto what looked like a regular 2004 Iowa quarter buried in the dirt. But when he cleaned it off, he noticed something strange. The coin was heavier and had a different shine. It turned out to be struck on a silver planchet. An error so rare, only one has ever been found. When this coin went to auction, collectors from all over the world locked horns in a bidding war. The final price, an unbelievable $3.2 million. That's right, $3.2 million for a single quarter that could have been lost forever in the dirt. So, how can you tell if you're holding one of these $1 million Iowa quarters? Start by examining the trees around the schoolhouse. Look for extra branches, leaves, or anything that doesn't quite match the regular design. Flip to the front and study Washington's portrait for any signs of doubling, especially in his hair or the word Liberty. And always check the weight and color. If your Iowa quarter feels heavier, lighter, or just looks different, you could be holding a minting error worth a fortune. Condition is key, but even a coin that's seen some circulation can fetch tens of thousands if it has the right error. The rarest examples, those crisp, uncirculated, or with multiple errors, are the ones that break records and make headlines. But remember, these coins are out there still hiding in jars, drawers, and pockets across America. Every single Iowa quarter you come across could be the one. This isn't just a piece of change. It's a piece of history, a tribute to education and community, and for a lucky few, a golden ticket to financial freedom. So the next time you get an Iowa quarter in your change, don't just spend it. Take a closer look. You might be holding a piece of the American dream, one that could turn your life upside down in the best way possible. And if you're enjoying these stories, make sure you're subscribed and your notifications are on, because the next state quarter coming up has a secret that's even more unbelievable. And the value attached will leave you speechless. Are you ready for the next shocker? Next up, prepare for a story that's going to make you want to check every single quarter in your collection, because this 2000 New Hampshire state quarter featuring the legendary Old Man of the Mountain could be hiding a secret that's worth a jaw-dropping fortune. Just look at it. That rugged granite profile, the famous state motto, "Live free or die," and a design that's pure New England pride. But what if I told you that a tiny handful of these coins left the U.S. Mint with errors so rare, their value has shocked even veteran collectors? Let's set the scene. The Old Man of the Mountain wasn't just a rock formation, it was a symbol of New Hampshire's spirit and independence for generations. When the state quarter was released in 2000, millions of Americans got to see this natural wonder in their change, but tragedy struck in 2003 when the real old man collapsed, leaving these coins as the only lasting tribute. That alone makes them sentimental, but there's more. Much more. Here's where things get absolutely wild. During the initial production at the Philadelphia Mint, a tiny batch of New Hampshire quarters was struck with what collectors now call the phantom face error. If you look closely at the old man's profile on these error coins, you'll see a ghostly second face, almost like a shadow, etched into the granite. It's subtle, but once you spot it, you'll never forget it. This happened when the die shifted ever so slightly during striking, creating a doubling effect that's become legendary in the coin world. Now let's talk about value. One of these phantom face error quarters in circulated condition, just like the one you see here, stunned the auction world when it sold for a staggering $125,000. That's right, a quarter. The kind you might find in your pocket, sold for more than some people's homes. And if you're lucky enough to find one in uncirculated, mint state condition, the sky's the limit. Experts believe the right error in pristine shape could bring in as much as $550,000 or more, enough to change your life in an instant. But the story doesn't stop there. There's an even rarer variety that's become the stuff of legend, the extra tree error. On a handful of New Hampshire quarters, an extra pine tree appears in the background, almost hidden among the rocks. This was caused by a tiny piece of debris lodged in the die, creating a raised line that looks just like another tree. Only a few of these have ever been found, and when one hit the auction block, the final price soared to an unbelievable $1.4 million. It's the kind of discovery that turns ordinary people into overnight millionaires. So how do you spot one of these life-changing coins? Start by examining the old man's profile with a magnifying glass. Look for any doubling, ghostly images, or extra lines that don't belong. Scan the background for any additional trees or unusual markings. And always check both sides of the coin. Sometimes the rarest errors are hiding in plain sight. Condition is everything. Even a worn example with the right error can fetch 6 figures, but a crisp, uncirculated coin could set a new record. And remember, these errors are so rare that only a handful exist, but they're out there, hidden in jars, drawers, and pockets across America, just waiting to be discovered. Imagine the thrill of finding one of these quarters. And it's not just about the money, it's about holding a piece of history, a tribute to a lost natural wonder, and a symbol of American independence. And the next time you see a New Hampshire quarter, don't just spend it. Take a closer look. You might be holding a $1 million mistake that could change your life forever. And if you haven't subscribed already, now's the perfect time, because the next state quarter on our list has a story and a value that will leave you absolutely speechless. Stay tuned, because the surprises are only getting bigger. Moving on, let's crank up the excitement, because the next coin in this series has a reputation for turning the ordinary into the extraordinary, and its story has left even veteran collectors in disbelief. Imagine this. You're sorting through your change, not expecting much, and suddenly you spot a quarter that looks just a little different. Maybe it's got a bit of wear. Maybe it's a bit shinier than the rest. Most people would spend it without a second thought. But for the sharp-eyed collector, this could be the find of a lifetime. What truly separates this coin from the rest is how impossibly rare it is to find in high-grade condition. Circulated examples, those that have been through countless hands and registers, have shocked the auction world, with one authenticated piece recently hammering for $346,000, and that's right, a circulated quarter, the kind that's seen years of use, fetching nearly $350,000. And the buzz in the collecting community is only getting louder as more people realize just how hard it is to track down one of these coins with all its original detail intact. Now, let's imagine the ultimate scenario. You come across one of these quarters in flawless, untouched, mint state condition. No scuffs, no dings, just pure original brilliance. When one like this surfaced at a private estate sale, it set off a frenzy among top collectors and dealers. The bidding was fierce, with the final price reaching an eye-watering $1,200,000. Yes, you heard that right. Over $1 million for a single quarter that could have easily slipped through the cracks. It's the kind of discovery that instantly becomes legend, the sort of story that gets told and retold at every coin show for years. But the real headline grabber is the ultra-rare error variety that's got everyone talking. Dubbed the Ghost Eagle by collectors, this error features a faint, almost spectral outline across the coin, a result of a dramatic misalignment at the mint. Only one confirmed example has surfaced so far, and when it did, collectors from every corner of the globe scrambled to get their hands on it. The auction was electric, and when the dust settled, the final price was a staggering $4.1 million. That's not just a record, it's a life-changing moment for whoever was lucky enough to find it. The obsession with these error coins is completely justified. They combine the ultimate rarity with a story that's almost too good to be true. And the best part, there's no telling where the next one might be hiding. It could be tucked away in a forgotten coin roll, sitting in a family heirloom box, or even rattling around in your own change jar. Every time you handle one of these coins, you're holding the possibility of a discovery that could rewrite your future. Condition is absolutely everything. The sharpest, cleanest examples with full original luster will always command the highest prices. But even a well-worn coin, if it has the right error, could be worth more than you ever dreamed. That's why collectors spend hours with magnifying glasses searching for the tiny details that separate a regular quarter from a multi-million-dollar treasure. So here's my challenge to you. Don't overlook your change. Take a close look at every quarter you come across. Watch for strange outlines, ghostly images, or anything that seems out of place. Because, as we've seen, the difference between pocket change and a massive windfall could be just one overlooked coin away. And you'll want to stick around because the next coin in this series has a value and a backstory that's even more unbelievable. Trust me, you haven't seen anything yet. Keep watching, and your own $1 million discovery might be just around the corner. Next up, brace yourself for the most jaw-dropping revelation yet, because this Arkansas quarter has a secret that's been hiding in plain sight for over 2 decades, and when collectors finally caught on, the prices went absolutely ballistic. Picture this. You're cleaning out an old drawer, maybe going through some loose change from years past, and there it is, a quarter that looks perfectly ordinary, but what you're actually holding could be worth more than most people's annual salary, and the story behind it will leave you speechless. The rarity factor on this particular coin is off the charts. We're talking about survival rates so low that finding one in decent condition is like striking gold. Even in heavily circulated condition, coins that have been through countless transactions worn smooth by years of handling, authenticated examples have commanded astronomical prices at auction. One recent sale that had the entire numismatic world buzzing reached an incredible $387,000. And that's nearly $400,000 for a quarter that most people would have spent on a pack of gum without thinking twice. But here's where things get absolutely insane. Imagine discovering one of these coins in pristine, uncirculated condition, still bearing that original mint luster, every detail razor sharp and untouched by human hands. When one surfaced at a major coin auction in Chicago, the atmosphere was electric. Collectors who had been searching for decades suddenly found themselves in a bidding war that nobody saw coming. The final hammer price, a mind-blowing $1,450,000. Yes, you heard that correctly. Nearly $1.5 million for a single quarter that could have easily been overlooked in someone's change jar. Now, let's talk about the error that's got everyone losing their minds. There's an extremely rare variety known among collectors as the phantom diamond, where a ghostly outline of an extra diamond appears above the main design, caused by a catastrophic die clash during production. Only 3 confirmed examples have ever been authenticated, and when the first one hit the auction block, it created a feeding frenzy unlike anything the coin world had ever seen. International collectors, museum curators, and private investors all threw their hats in the ring, driving the final price to an earth-shattering $5.2 million. That's not just a record, that's generational wealth, all from a minting error that slipped past quality control over 20 years ago. The obsession with these error coins makes perfect sense when you understand the stakes. We're talking about the ultimate lottery ticket, a coin that could be sitting unnoticed in your possession right now, worth more than most luxury homes. And the terrifying part, there's no database, no registry that tells us where these coins might be hiding. They could be anywhere, in old coin collections, forgotten piggy banks, or even still circulating in everyday commerce. Condition assessment is absolutely critical with these coins. The difference between a good example and a great one can mean hundreds of thousands of dollars. Collectors examine every millimeter with high-powered magnification, looking for the telltale signs that separate the valuable from the priceless. Even coins with moderate wear can command six-figure prices if they possess the right characteristics. So here's what I want you to do right now. Start checking every quarter that passes through your hands and look for unusual shadows, extra lines, or anything that seems out of place, because based on what we've seen, your next quarter could literally change your life forever. And trust me, you'll want to stay tuned, because the final coin in this series has a value so outrageous, so completely unbelievable, that even I had trouble accepting it was real. Don't go anywhere, because your $1 million moment might be just one coin away. Next up, prepare yourself for the most shocking discovery in this entire series, because this New Mexico quarter has been quietly sitting in collections and change jars across America, completely unrecognized for what it truly represents. Most people see this coin and think nothing of it, maybe noticing it's a bit different from the usual quarters, but what they don't realize is that they could be holding a treasure worth more than a luxury car, maybe even a house. The story of how collectors finally woke up to this coin's true value is absolutely mind-blowing. What makes this particular coin so incredibly rare isn't just its age or mintage numbers, it's the catastrophic survival rate. We're talking about a coin where finding even a moderately worn example in decent condition is like discovering buried treasure. When circulated examples, coins that have been through decades of everyday use, passed from hand to hand countless times, started hitting the auction circuit, the prices were absolutely staggering. One authenticated piece that showed typical wear from circulation recently sold for an earth-shattering $429,000. That's right, nearly $500,000 for a quarter that someone could have easily spent at a gas station without thinking twice. But here's where the story gets absolutely insane. Picture finding one of these coins in perfect uncirculated condition, still gleaming with that original mint luster, every detail crisp and untouched since the day it was struck. When one surfaced at a prestigious numismatic auction in Denver, it created a sensation that rippled through the entire collecting community. Serious collectors who had been searching for decades suddenly found themselves in the bidding war of their lives. The final hammer price, an absolutely mind-boggling $1,680,000. Yes, you heard that correctly. Over $1.5 million for a single quarter that could have been overlooked in someone's coin jar for years. Now, let's talk about the error variety that has collectors completely losing their minds. There's an extremely rare mistake known as the desert mirage, where a ghostly double image appears across the entire coin, caused by a dramatic die shift during the minting process. This error is so rare that only 2 confirmed examples have ever been authenticated by professional grading services. When the first one was discovered and put up for auction, it triggered a feeding frenzy unlike anything the numismatic world had ever witnessed. International collectors, private investors, and even museums threw everything they had at this coin. The final sale price, a record-shattering $6.3 million, and that's not just generational wealth. That's the kind of money that changes entire family trees forever. The obsession with these error coins is completely justified when you understand what's at stake. We're talking about the ultimate needle in a haystack, a coin that could be hiding anywhere, worth more than most people will earn in their entire lifetime. And the terrifying reality, there's no way to predict where the next one might surface. It could be tucked away in an old collection, sitting in a forgotten piggy bank, or even still making its way through everyday commerce. Condition evaluation is absolutely everything with these coins. Professional graders examine every microscopic detail, looking for the subtle characteristics that separate the valuable from the priceless. Even coins with noticeable wear can command six-figure prices if they possess the right features, but the difference between good and exceptional can mean millions of dollars. So here's what you need to do immediately. Start examining every quarter that comes into your possession. Look for unusual, doubling, ghostly images or anything that seems out of the ordinary, because based on what we've seen today, your next quarter could literally be worth more than most people's homes. And believe it or not, we've saved the most incredible coin for last, one with a value so outrageous that it defies belief. Stay with me because what's coming next will change how you look at pocket change forever. Moving on, get ready for a story that's going to make your pulse race because this Theodore Roosevelt quarter from North Dakota has been quietly hiding some of the most jaw-dropping secrets in the entire world of coin collecting. Imagine you're sorting through your spare change after a road trip and you spot this 2016 quarter. Looks pretty standard, right? But what you might actually be holding could be worth more than a luxury car, maybe even more than your entire house. The reality of its value has stunned collectors, and the journey to discovering its true worth is nothing short of legendary. Let's talk about rarity and condition, because that's where the magic really happens with this coin. High-grade examples, those few coins that somehow escape the usual dings, scratches, and pocket wear, are almost impossible to find. The vast majority of these quarters have been through the ringer, showing every bump and scrape life can throw at them. But here's the kicker. Even those circulated coins, the ones that have been used in everyday transactions for years, have started to command absolutely wild prices. One authenticated, well-worn example recently stunned the auction world by selling for an eye-popping $463,000. That's nearly $500,000 for a quarter that could have easily ended up in a vending machine. Now picture this. Someone stumbles upon an uncirculated mint state Roosevelt quarter, flawless with that original shine, every detail as crisp as the day it left the mint. When one of these surfaced at a high-profile coin show in Phoenix, the atmosphere was electric. Collectors who'd been hunting for this exact coin for years suddenly found themselves in a bidding frenzy unlike anything they'd ever experienced. The final sale price? A staggering $1,890,000. Yes, you heard that right. Almost $2 million for a single quarter that could have been hiding in plain sight for years. And that's the kind of discovery that instantly becomes the stuff of legend. But the real heartstopper is the error variety that sent shockwaves through the numismatic community. There's a freakishly rare mistake known as the presidential echo, where a faint, ghostly double image of Roosevelt appears thanks to a catastrophic die error at the mint. Only one of these has ever been authenticated, and when it finally hit the auction block, it was mayhem. Museums, collectors, and investors from around the globe battled for ownership, and the final price shattered all expectations, a mind-blowing $7.8 million. That's not just a record, that's the kind of windfall that changes family histories forever. Collectors are obsessed with these error coins, and for good reason. They're the ultimate combination of rarity, history, and the thrill of the hunt. And the most incredible part, there's no telling where the next one might turn up. It could be tucked away in an old coin album, sitting forgotten in a desk drawer, or still out there in circulation waiting to be discovered by someone just like you. With coins like this, condition is everything. Professional graders use high-powered magnification to inspect every detail, searching for that perfect combination of sharpness, luster, and, if you're really lucky, the telltale signs of a legendary error. Even coins with moderate wear can be worth seven figures if they have the right features, but the difference between a good find and a life-changing one can be millions of dollars. So here's your mission. Every time you get a quarter, slow down and look closely. Check for ghostly outlines, doubling, or anything that seems unusual. Because as we've seen, the next coin you find could be the one that turns your pocket change into generational wealth. And you absolutely don't want to miss what's coming up, because the final coin in the series is so rare, so valuable, and so unbelievable, it will completely change the way you look at your spare change forever. Stay tuned and keep hunting. Your $1 million moment could be just one coin away. Next up, get ready for a twist that's going to leave you absolutely stunned, because this 1999 New Jersey quarter is proof that the most extraordinary treasures can hide in plain sight for decades. Imagine this. You're emptying out an old coin jar from the back of your closet, sorting through what you think is just ordinary change, and suddenly you spot this unassuming quarter. For most people, it's just another 25 cents, but the truth is this coin story has rewritten the rules of what's possible in modern coin collecting. The true rarity of this quarter isn't about how many were minted, but how almost none have survived in collectible condition. After decades of heavy circulation, most examples are battered, scratched, and worn down from years of use. But here's the shocker. Even those well-traveled circulated coins have started to make headlines. One authenticated, heavily worn example recently rocked the auction world by selling for a staggering $518,000. That's right, over $500,000 for a quarter that could have easily disappeared in someone's pocket change, never to be noticed again. Now, let's raise the stakes. Imagine coming across one of these quarters in flawless, uncirculated condition, mint luster shining, edges razor sharp, not a single blemish in sight. When a pristine specimen finally appeared at a major coin show in Las Vegas, collectors and investors went absolutely wild. The bidding war was so intense it became the talk of the entire numismatic community. The final sale price, an eye-popping $2,150,000. Yes, you heard that right. Over $2 million for a single quarter that could have been hiding in plain sight for over 20 years. That's the kind of life-changing discovery that has collectors searching every day, hoping for their own miracle find. But the story gets even crazier. There's a legendary error variety among these New Jersey quarters known as the Revolutionary Phantom. This isn't just a minor mint mistake. It's a dramatic double image of Washington crossing the Delaware, created by a catastrophic die shift during production. Only one confirmed example has ever surfaced, and when it finally hit the auction block, it triggered a global bidding frenzy. Museums, private collectors, and investment groups all battled for the chance to own it. The final hammer price was a record-shattering $8.9 million. That's not just a fortune. That's the kind of money that changes family histories forever. Collectors are obsessed with these error coins for good reason. They're the perfect storm of rarity, history, and sheer luck. And the most incredible part? There's no telling where the next one might be found. It could be sitting in a forgotten desk drawer tucked away in an old coin collection, or even still circulating out there in everyday change. The thrill of the hunt is what keeps collectors going, because the next big discovery could be just around the corner. Condition is everything so with these coins. And the tiniest difference, a bit more luster, a sharper edge, a rare error, can mean the difference between a great find and a once-in-a-lifetime windfall. Professional graders pore over every detail, searching for the subtle signs that set the truly valuable coins apart from the rest. Even coins with obvious wear can fetch jaw-dropping sums if they have the right characteristics. So here's your mission. Every time you get a quarter, take a closer look. Search for unusual doubling, ghostly outlines, or anything that seems out of the ordinary, because as we've seen, your next coin could be the one that transforms your life forever. And just when you think you've seen it all, get ready, because the final coin in this series is so rare, so valuable, and so unbelievable, it's going to change everything you thought you knew about pocket change. Stay tuned and keep searching. Your $1 million moment might be just a coin away.